Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Predator Exotics. Now today we're going to be teaching you how to incubate your dwarf sand gecko eggs inside an Exo Terra Incubator.
So we bought this one off Facebook Marketplace for a bargain of £40, but if you want to buy one new, they're going to cost you around £150 online from various different retailers.
Now, before we actually get into how to incubate the eggs, we're actually going to be teaching you a bit about the actual product that we're using here today now, because this is the Exo Terra Incubator. So it is a 36 by 32 by 45 in size, and it can do a temperature range of 2 degrees all the way up to 60 degrees.
So I don't know if the camera picks it up, but this can be quite noisy at times. At the moment, because it's already at temperature, it's not too bad. It's sort of a dull little buzzing. But when it's getting up to temperature, it can be quite noisy. So you just have to bear that in mind. You might not want it somewhere like a bedroom where you're trying to sleep. Put it in a garage or somewhere out of the way so it's not interfering with your personal life.
But now we're actually going to get into the specific details about what kind of features this thing actually has.
So if we look at the back of our Exo Terra Incubator first, the first thing you'll see is where you plug it in. There is actually an AC and a DC port. The AC port is for when you plug it straight into the mains, and the DC port is if you want to plug it into a cigarette lighter in your car or something like that. This is quite good if you're moving house or anything like that. You can put all your eggs in your incubator, plug it into the car, and they'll be all safe on their journey. So whichever cord you are not using, there is a small flap at the back of our incubator. You can use this to store the cables that you're not currently using, and it won't get lost, and you'll be able to keep your cables nice and safe in the back of your Exo Terra Incubator. Moving on to the top of your incubator, it comes with a nice easy to use handle. It's sort of like a groove in the top of the incubator. It's not a flap out one. It's a lot deeper than it seems, and you can easily carry it with one hand, and it makes sure all your eggs are nice and stable in the incubator when you're moving them. On the door of your incubator, you've got the latch to make sure it's closed. This is quite good because it's going to make sure that your door is always closed, not like a fridge, you just shut it. You are going to hear a nice click when it's shut, so you know it's shut properly and it keeps all the heat inside. Also on the door, you've got a double thick glass panel. This means you can view your eggs all the time, but it also insulates it and keeps the heat inside. On the top of your incubator, above the door, you've got a nice easy to see panel. This shows you the temperature it's currently at, and you can change the temperature with the up and down arrows 1 degree at a time to get the temperature you need to incubate whatever specific species you are keeping inside. There's also a light you can use to check on your eggs. This is quite good. It means you don't have to open the door and release any of the heat. You can just turn the light on and look at all of your eggs. So inside your incubator on the bottom shelf is actually a tray that you can pour water in. This will keep the humidity up inside your incubator, but we aren't going to be using this feature today. You've also got 2 shelves on the inside of your incubator. These are adjustable onto a couple different slots. Depending on how big your eggs are or how big the container your eggs are in, you can slot your eggs onto the different shelves inside. And as a bonus, on the bottom it has rubber feet, so it's not going to scratch any of your worktops or work surfaces.
So now we're actually going to move on to how to set up your incubation for, well, this will be pretty much for any type of egg, but this one of course is going to be specific to our dwarf sand geckos. Now of course you can use as a base layer Hatcherite, which is made for reptiles, or vermiculite. Now vermiculite is basically the same thing. So what these are used for is pretty much it absorbs water without making too much like wetness, and it won't be like too wet for your reptile eggs, but will still increase the moisture. So you just want to go ahead and create a base layer of this at the bottom, and then you'll be adding a small amount of water. Of course we won't be using too much water because these are arid eggs that we're going to be incubating, so we don't want to make it too moist. Basically the common way of telling is that if you grab a handful after you've added the water and water starts to drip out, then that means you've added too much water. You only want to add like a little bit to create kind of like almost like a molding sense with the vermiculite, and then you're ready to go ahead and add your eggs on. So once you've got it to this kind of consistency, as you can see, it is not wet, but it still clumps together, but is also easily breakable apart, so you can put it back. And as you can see, no water is coming out, which means that we've added the right amount and we haven't done it too much and it's too wet.
So with the dwarf sand gecko eggs, basically because they're from the desert, they are actually in a dry environment all the time. So we want to keep them on dry sand, but in the humid environment with the moist vermiculite. That is why they're in a separate pot of sand, just to keep them dry. but the air moist around them. So we've got them in these pots. We'll add these into and then we want to keep that humidity in, so we'll put the lid on, stick that on there. We'll slow it in. This tub seems to fit pretty well, and close the door as quickly as you can to keep all that heat inside, because with such a small incubator, once you open the door it does let out quite a bit of heat, so you want to minimise the amount of time you do have that door open.
Alright guys, so now that we actually have the eggs in the incubator, now of course, as you've seen before, we were using a makeshift incubator that we just made ourselves with just a regular Tupperware and, you know, like a heat mat. Now it's really exciting to be able to actually use a proper piece of kit and hopefully get the same kind of results. With our makeshift one, we've actually hatched 6 eggs and we've got 3 remaining. So hopefully we will, you know, have the same success rate. But yeah, I'm really excited to start using this.
So as you can see, we did use quite a big Tupperware pot for this one. You could use smaller pots. You only basically need enough room for once a gecko hatches, they can run around a bit, and it's got enough oxygen in there. So you can use smaller ones and you'd be able to get quite a lot of eggs, especially if you've got dwarf sand geckos like us. Eggs are tiny, but you could get leopard gecko eggs, hognoses, corn snakes. It might be a push for something if you had ball pythons and stuff like that, but any geckos, definitely this is a great thing to put your eggs in.
So we hope you have enjoyed, and we will keep you guys updated with how well this piece of kit works. Now of course you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and soon we will be updating on Facebook, so you'll get daily updates on this kind of stuff, on how the eggs are doing. But without further ado, we hope you have enjoyed, so don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe to this channel.
We'll see you next Friday.
Bye guys.